Yeah, the death threats are definitely alarming, and I've raised that concern and said, like, I don't feel comfortable, having to compete or even try and speak up against what I think is for fair sport for females, and then have to compete against someone who's viciously saying death threats to our premier as well as April, and then going around and being mad at doctors on board panels that didn't give the results that they demanded, and just threatening everybody. And it's not, I don't feel safe.
I think you all know the story of April Hutchinson by now. She's the Team Canada powerlifter, currently serving a 1-year suspension from competition for criticizing Anne Andres, a biological male, now self-identifying as female and claiming the top spots in Alberta powerlifting. You see, it's not bad enough that Anne is stealing accolades and opportunities from women. He's making fun of them while he does it.
Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a tranny freak, so that doesn't count.
Oh, and if you criticize Anne, then you will be subject to a series of menacing videos and Instagram posts wherein he wishes for your expeditious death. Now, you can learn more about all of this and support April's fight for fairness in sports by visiting standwithapril.com. Now, what some of you may not know is that there is a very specific gag order placed upon female powerlifters. It's part of the Canadian Powerlifting Union's Transgender and Diversity Inclusion Policy. It reads, openly contesting or protesting an athlete's right to compete in their competitive category is prohibited and could be considered psychological maltreatment and a violation of the Canadian Powerlifting Union's Code of Conduct. You see, if they speak out about the unfairness of allowing biological males to lift against biological females, it's the women that will be prevented from competing, accused of psychological maltreatment of the men. Now, today I want you to meet another very brave woman, another powerlifter. Her name is Julianne Craig. And by talking to me, she's potentially putting her ability to compete in jeopardy. But she's worked so hard, and she's trying to save her sport from itself. She will be competing against Anne Andres at the Alberta Provincials in June 2024. And you'll notice in our interview, she's specifically parsing her words so that she stays within the self-censorship clause imposed on her and other female competitors by the Canadian Powerlifting Union. But I want you to hear from someone who is still competing, still fighting for fairness, and trying to make a difference in the sport she loves so much. Take a listen. Julianne, tell us a little bit about how you got into powerlifting and why.
I started powerlifting. I had lost actually over 100 pounds, and then I had a lot of loose skin. And so I had started lifting weights, and someone had noticed me in the gym, in a regular commercial gym, and said, holy crap, you're strong. Like, why are you not lifting? Like, why are you not competing? And so they had pushed me into powerlifting, and that's when I discovered it. It was kind of a mental therapy, pushing and seeing how strong I could get.
So are you like April Hutchinson in that, and I say this in the nicest possible way, in the most complimentary of ways, are you one of those natural freaks of nature that is just someone with this incredible aptitude for lifting?
I have a passion for it, and I think that when I set my mind to something, I'm going to make sure that it happens. And so for me, it was lifting weights and showing that I was able to. When I was a little girl, younger than 16, I was not allowed in the weightlifting portion of the gym. The boys kicked us out, and for me, it was kind of a look, yes, women are allowed back in the gym, and we're allowed to be strong.
Except now, the reason I'm talking to you is because a man is trying to take space away from women in the gym. Tell us what's happening to you right now.
Well, I had competed back in 2021 against this athlete, this biological male, and no one had told us anything about this competitor. We weren't told that they were male. We weren't told anything. And we were in the change room with them. Nothing was said. That athlete actually came up to me post-competition when they had won and said to me, great game, like, you did really well. And I was like, oh, thank you, like just sportsman type talk, and said, well, just so you know, I'm biological male. And The rules allow it. So there's nothing you can do. You can send a complaint into the federation. And that was the beginning of my problem. They had said that, and I went around to a bunch of referees and coaches and fellow athletes and discussed with them. I said, like, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know what's happening. Like, does anybody know the rules? And I was called a bigot, a sore loser, and I was told to lose more weight to be in the next category down, so I didn't have to deal with it. I then had a mental breakdown. For about 6 months. I'd touch the bar and I would just cry. Like, it was just very hard to see people who you trusted and thought were friends, then just for asking about a policy, call you something that you didn't think you were.
Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a tranny freak, so that doesn't count. And no, we're not talking about Mackenzie Lee. She's got little T-Rex arms and she's like 400 pounds of chest muscle, apparently. I mean, standard bench in powerlifting competition for women, I literally don't understand why it's so bad.
And now fast forward to today, I met April and figured out I was not the only one who thought like this or had read actual scientific reports about the differences between males and females. And I learned about her battle and I said, hey, like, something similar happened to me. Like, can I be your friend? Can I help? And so that started out with a bunch of letters and we got a little bit of the policy changed, not quite where it should be. It then continued with this athlete continuing to harass, slander, mock females, say bad things about various levels of the federation, to just blatant disrespect for females.
People like you are spreading the kind of bullshit that is getting children killed. You really think that you're just targeting me? You're targeting children who get killed because of the words you say.
Whereas April said one word and was just banned.
It's even more disheartening that the Federation allows this to happen. I am the one being punished for speaking truth, yet he can mock females and say, call me a bigot, incite hate, and nothing's being done about that. But I'm the one being silenced by my Federation.
One word and banned, but these videos and posts were made just slandering. And
they're so vicious.
They're vicious. They're so vicious.
Yeah.
And I have a list of like 42 different incidents. And I have it all memorized, like all categorized because it's just so bad. And they did nothing. They did nothing. They stood by this athlete and said, well, you have to compete against them.
Amazing that your hero, the one that you choose to stand with in the fight for fairness in sport, you know what she does? She goes out and she decides to take up the mantle of a trans player is hurting NATO people in basketball. On the same week that a minority is killed, that is her thing. And you know what's cool? You know what's really cool about that? The same argument was being used to keep black people out of sports. Oh, well, they're so much bigger, they're gonna hurt our white people.
So you have meticulously documented all the bad behavior of this male-born athlete, including the bullying of female competitors.
Yes.
And you filed a complaint.
I filed multiple complaints, multiple. We did multiple letters with no responses whatsoever from our federation. We did then go to it's a different system. I don't know if they didn't want to deal with them, couldn't handle the complaints. It was a mediator, so to speak, that we have to file complaints through. And so I filed multiple through there. Nothing's been resolved as of right now. Right now, they are still competing in June.
In June, at the provincial level, you will have to compete against this person.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. There's no way around it right now.
Even think about this? Do you have any concept of the fact that all they've done is replace which group they're against? You know they're going to go back to hating you as soon as they can. God, you've deluded yourself into thinking that it has anything to do with me. It has to do with keeping anybody else out of their segregated sports. God, you're dumb.
And there are no consequences for the bad behavior of this male-born athlete towards female competitors, because we've seen it. We've seen him talk with impunity, saying horrible things about not just April Hutchinson, but also other female competitors. I mean, that's got to be very uncomfortable to have to go into competition with someone like that.
Yeah, the death threats are definitely alarming, and I've raised that concern and said, like, I don't feel comfortable, having to compete or even try and speak up against what I think is for fair sport for females, and then have to compete against someone who's viciously saying death threats to our premier as well as April, and then going around and being mad at doctors on board panels that didn't give the results that they demanded, and just threatening everybody. And it's not, I don't feel safe.
No, and even just on a basic sportsmanship level, it is just poor sportsmanship, and I think it's a poor reflection on the sport. Now, we are being very careful about what you are saying about this competitor. I am probably going to say other things because I'm not bound by the rules of your federation. But there's a censorship clause in your federation's rules that prevent you from questioning the ability of another competitor to compete.
Yes, their trans inclusion policy, which was meant for an inclusion policy, but is just about transgender rights, was formed actually by the board, who, unfortunately, they have a conflict of interest. Multiple members are either part of trans identified boards or have family members that are trans, and they've posted their support of those family members and the trans society on their pages, which is a huge conflict of interest and makes you lose all trust for their decision-making skills.
Well, it makes you completely confident that you're not going to get fair treatment from any of them.
Oh, absolutely not. I don't expect it whatsoever.
Now, you're not going to be bullied despite the threats of this person. You say you don't feel safe, but you are going to be competing in June at provincials. What would you like people out there to know about what's happening to your sport?
Basically, women are being erased. Females, or adult females, are being erased from sports. It's very sad. This person not only took, I think it's 3 out of 5 of the female records, but also, in my thoughts, stole 4 overall best female lifter awards when they competed. So when someone competes, when there's a best female, best male lifter award, and you get money, you could get prizes, like, it depends from competition to competition. Well, 4 times they took that, and the athletes that didn't win were very, very upset. They were hurt.
Right. Now, you're in a battle with the provincial federation. April's in a battle with the Canadian Powerlifting Union, but the federation above that has taken the side of women's sports and fairness in sport. Does that give you hope for the future?
It does. And with the U.S. actually just won a case against the transgender who was fighting them for their right to participate in female sports, and they won that. The USPL league won that. So there is some hope. There's some hope there.
How do people like me, who are not powerlifters, obviously, but how do we support you and April and women like you in your fight for fairness and to keep women's sports for women?
I would say just keep supporting the women that are fighting for it, and whether it's retweeting tweets or writing in letters to various federations. When you see someone who is transgender on the team of your daughters, you have to stand up. You can't be quiet, because something is going to happen to them. Fortunately, we don't compete as a team, so there is no real issue of being hurt in powerlifting. However, in the team sports, there's a real consequence to a male being on the team or the opposing team.
Well, Julian, we have big plans to be at provincials in June. We want to support the female lifters in their fight for fairness, and I can't wait to see what you do there.
Thank you. I can't wait to go.
If you'd like to learn more about April Hutchinson's fight for women just like Julianne Craig to be able to compete against other biological women, please go to standwithapril.com.